often involve working with hazardous material and equipment, which can pose a risk to the health and safety of those involved. For example, handling hazardous chemicals such as acid, bases, solvent, and reactive compounds can pose a risk of chemical burns, respiratory irritation, and other health effects. Hirarc used to identify and control workplace hazard, and it is an important tool for the organization to ensure that their workers and others are protected from harm. By identifying potential hazards in the workplace, organization can help prevent accidents and injuries from happening. The objective of this experiment is to produce a safe work procedure by using Hirarc in working at laboratory. Therefore, some activity or tasks in laboratory are identified to highlight the potential hazard and risk assessment for further control measures.
The first things the lab assistant do is handle the autoclave. Based on the picture, the risk that can occur is his hands can burn because of the heat and steam. If the autoclave explodes due to the seal of the door malfunction, it can lead to body injury. So, the control measure that can be done is wear appropriate PPE include lab coat, heat-resistant gloves, and safety glasses. Number 2 is wearing slipper or sandal in the lab. The risk is he can fall and exposed to harmful environment such as smooth floor or accidentally stepping on sharp things such that can lead to the leg injuries. The foot that exposed to the corrosive chemical may cause burning. The control measure that can be done is he can wear chemical resistant shoes or safety boot. He also could wear closed-to-toe shoes. Next is hold many beakers at once. The beakers itself is the hazard. If he carelessly drop the beakers, there are a high risk for him exposed to cut due to the sharp glass. So what are the control measures? He can hold the beaker one by one and avoid hitting or touch with the other co-worker. Next, it is a very risk to walk on the wet floor. He can accidentally fall and lead to sprained ankle, broken leg if in the serious condition. The existing control measure is he should quickly mop the wet floor. Other than that, he should carefully handle the beaker and that contain water or chemical to avoid its spills on the floor. Next, the lab assistant does not wear a face mask during poor acid solution. The risk that can occur is can cause infection by inhalation, such as nausea, headache, and faint if in serious conditions. So, he should wear appropriate PPE, include lab coat, gloves, safety shoes, and face mask. Not wearing gloves during poor acid solution. The risk is may cause skin irritation, burn, and corrosive the skin. He should wear the synthetic rubber glove to handle the acid solution. Last but not least is pouring the acid solution outside the fume hood. The risk is can give effect to the respiratory system such as difficulty in breathing and lung disease due to the hazardous substance. He should wear in the fume hood and keep the equipment at least 6 inches away from the hood's face.
I am not Franchise Mimiti Ahmad Fauzi, and I will be explaining the slide about likelihood and severity. To explain it, likelihood on a risk matrix represents the likelihood of the most likely consequence occurring in the event of a hazard occurrence. In the high level of likelihood of hazard, it can be determined to score 5, which is most likely result of the hazard being realized, until score 1 results that the hazard is impossible and has never occurred. Meanwhile, severity on the risk matrix represents the severity of the most likely consequence of a particular hazard occurrence. The highest score 5 of hazard that causes worse than that until score 1, the smallest injury. To summarize the likelihood of the 7 hazards, it shows that the hazard of floor beakers and acid solution resulted in score 4, which is possible. It is a good chance of occurring and is not unusual. Lab workers wearing slippers as they were not concerned about the importance of wearing safety shoes. The accidentally broken beakers occurs to the person with inadequate training or careless behavior. Walking on the wet floor as any spilled solution may accidentally spill on the floor during handling experiment, and handling acid solution in an open space or not putting mask and glove as a priority to wear. Handle autoclave on the scores 2, remote as autoclave takes time to heat unless used for prolonged time, so lab workers can avoid touching the heating autoclave at that time. Meanwhile, to summarize the severity of these 7 hazards, it's shown that the hazard of autoclave floor and acid solution resulted in score 3, which is major injuries. It is non-fatal injury, permanent disability. The heat of the autoclave causes hand burns. Wearing slippers or walking on wet floor can accidentally fall, leading to body injuries such as hands, legs, head or paralyzed. And handling acid solution in wrong ways affect respiratory systems or skin irritation. Hazard of beakers score as 2, minor injury, as shot glass may cause small injury like wounds on fingers.
Next, I'm going to present the risk metric table. This metric table is used to determine the risk value of workplace hazard. In order to determine the risk value, we need to multiply the value between the probability and severity. For instance, if the measure of the severity of the workplace hazard is 4 and the probability is 3, then the risk value of the workplace hazard will be 12. The risk value can be determined where the row of severity and column of probability meet. Next is the risk value. After we identify the risk value from the metric table, we realize that each number have different colors. Why? Here is the reason. In this table, we can see that there are 3 columns: risk level, risk value, and recommended action. For risk level, we have 3 levels which are high risk, medium risk, and low risk. These 3 levels are categorized based on the risk value and represented by using color legend as a guide to differentiate the risk level more easier. Red color is used for high risk, yellow color is used for medium risk, and green one is used for low risk. So, if we get risk value is 16, then the risk level is high risk. However, if the range number of risk value is between 6 until 12, then the risk level is medium risk. And if the range number of risk value is between 1 until 4, the risk level is low risk.
Okay, next I will explain the Hirarc form or multiple entry risk form. Hirarc's goal is to identify the potential risk within an organization in order to calculate a likelihood of an incident. As we can see on my left, there is an example of the Hirarc table. There is a lot of things that need to be noted and written in this form. As we can see under the hazard identification, there are a table for a work activity, hazards and the risk for the work activity listed in the table. For example, handling the autoclave without glove is the activity which can cause a risk like burn, and the autoclave is the hazard. The second important thing in the Hirarc table under the risk analysis, there is existing risk control, likelihood, severity, and the risk value. All of these need to be take notes so that we know how dangerous and risky the work activity is if it's still run. And lastly, under the risk control, there are recommended control measures and also the person in charge. We can suggest what should be done to prevent or reduce the accident while working or doing the work activity. And also, we need to know who is responsible to ensure the safety in the workplace. All of this is important so we can know the hazard, risk, and the work activity, and we can predict the likelihood and severity in order to know the risk value, as explained by the other group's member before. In this Hirarc form, we can see all the information clearly and make it easy to identify the potential risk and take an action to control the risk. Then I will move to the other table, which is ranking the tasks. In this table, the task or work activity is ranked from the most risky to the least risk based on the risk value in the Hirarc form. The highest value for all the work activity listed in the table is 12, which is include 5 activity from the 7 activity, which include not wearing mask during pouring the acid solution, not wearing glove during pour the acid solution, pouring acid solution outside the fume hood, wearing slipper or sandal in the lab, and walk on the wet floor. The second highest value is 8, which include the activity holding many beakers at once, and the last value is 6, which handle the autoclave without heat-resistant glove. All of the risk value are categorized as a medium risk, since the medium risk value is in range 5 to 12. All the tasks is no need to be reduced immediately, since there is no high risk, but control is necessary. A proper action need to be taken and done in order to reduce and prevent the risk from happening. For example, like training and wearing PPE equipment.
Next, we will proceed to safe operating procedures (SOP) in the laboratory. The first one is, before we use an autoclave, we must wear the PPE such as heat-resistant glove, lab coat, and eye protection. Next, we must inspect the autoclave for any sign of damage or wear. Lastly, we also need to clean the autoclave according to the manufacturer's instruction of the use. Before enter the laboratory, don't forget to wear the closed-toe shoes that provide better stability and support for your feet, which can help to prevent slips, trips, and falls. Or the other choice is we also can wear safety boots to protect against chemical spills and broken glass. For the running an experiment, do not hold multiple beakers at once, as this can increase the risk of dropping or spilling the beakers and their contents. We can use the test tube rack to hold and organize test tubes. Next, if the floor in the lab is wet, we must quickly mop the wet floor and let it dry. Other than that, we can wear non-slip tissues or boots with a good traction to help prevent slipping. Lastly, take a slow, small start and walk carefully to avoid slipping. Last but not least, when we have to pour the acid solution, do it in a well-ventilated area, which is inside the fume hood to minimize the build-up of harmful fumes. Next, we must handle the acid solution with care to avoid splashing or spilling. Besides, use a container that is suitable for the acid solution when poured. And lastly, rinse the container and dispose the acid solution properly.